There we go. Welcome, everybody. This is October 15th, 2021. It is a beautiful day outside if you've got the snow that I've got here and the sun coming up over the mountains. So I appreciate a group of you showing up. The focus today, I think, is circling back around again on the retreat agenda for the next weekend. But I also want to introduce a new thought regarding the Build Back Better EDA activity that I'm going to hopefully slide in after we talk about the retreat. And welcome to pick up on anything else that is on the top of mind. If you don't have it handy, I'm going to put the link to the agenda in the chat. There you go. And as we do a quick go around the table, if you have any additions to the agenda, let me know so that we can then update that as we go, and then we'll dive back into it. So as usual, looking for any thoughts you have on what's going on in this world and the next Alaska. And while I've got the soapbox, I will just say that I've been really fortunate to work with people across the state in the last 2 weeks on this EDA Build Back Better. It's gotten a lot of folks really engaged in this grant. And I think the Build Back Better ethos has been exciting. But here's what's going on is that there's a subtle shift that's happened over the last 2 months. 2 months ago, everybody was kind of close to the chest about what they were doing, and they're still pretty careful about it. But there's a growing ethos that everybody is in this together, and it's instead of a win-lose kind of thing, like I want to get the grant, so I'm not going to share what I'm doing. Folks are shifting into this opportunity mindset of, we don't care who gets the grant. These are $25 to $75 million grants, so this is a big deal. That folks are just coming together to say, we don't care who gets it. We just want to make sure somebody in Alaska gets this thing. And that's changing the tenor of this. But what's really coming out of this is an amazing deep look at the opportunities for the future of Alaska, because the EDA's grant structure of this is a 4-year funding to create a 20-year change in the trajectory of economies around the country and to build back better from the pandemic. And it ties exactly into the kind of things that we're talking about in terms of what is the next Alaska. And this is building the pathway to do that. And even if we don't get any of the grants, and there's about 8 of them that people are applying for, I think what we're building is a new understanding of where those better next Alaska projects are, who the collaborators are, where the industry leadership is. And so when we get later into the agenda, hopefully after the retreat and have a few minutes, I'm going to be proposing something. I've talked with many of the other people that are leading the different grants, and I'm working on one for Southeast Alaska, about putting together basically a conference, a kind of a half-day meetup with all the folks that were working on the Build Back Betters to share what they've been working on and the opportunities, and to build a coalition out of this to actually take all this work and move it ahead, regardless of who actually maybe does or doesn't get any of the results of this. So it's an absolutely amazing opportunity that's been going on in the last week or two. I appreciate a moment to share that. It's just kind of rocking my world. I'm glad to be back here today, though. So anyway, back to looking forward to catching up with the rest of you all and any agenda items and anything that stands out to you in this last week. Ryan, your top left corner, why don't you kick it off?
All righty. Hey, good morning, everyone. Great to see your smiling faces again. Man, it has been a wild week for me this week, but it has been filled with lots of great conversations with people. As an agenda item, I would like to bring up the Leadership Anchorage 25th cohort. We have got the potential to be a project champion. I think we are nearing the cutoff for that. And so I've got a few ideas, but I want to bounce them off of you and see if it is in line with the spirit of the group and we think that it could fit in well. I am a LA22 cohort member, and so I have been on the other side of these projects and think that they're a really cool way to engage with your community. The thing that I have been noticing this week is This morning, I had a conversation with a strategic doing group that I got connected with maybe about a month or so ago. And there's a gentleman from Ireland, someone from the West, somebody who is in Oregon, somebody who is on the East Coast. And we've been, each week that we get together, we've been talking about challenges that are occurring in the different communities that people are residing in. And the first time we met, it was food security. This time it's housing. But we keep coming up with the same challenges. And it doesn't matter where you're at in the world, you really are facing a lot of the same stuff. And a common thread that people consistently seem to be coming up with is the importance of local investing, the importance of the local focus, because of some of the larger systems just aren't quite equipped and are pretty slow to move and adapt to the challenges that are being faced. And so for me, that really highlights the importance and the opportunity of groups like ours. So I'm feeling pretty inspired and looking forward to hearing more about you all, about you guys this week.
Thanks, Ryan. I've added the leadership anchorage to the agenda coming up here in a minute. Kitty, introduction, agenda items or thoughts?
Morning all. I'm glad also not to be on the fly and on the road and listening to a recording. I'm home for a couple whole months. And I'll talk about the retreat in a bit. Excited about that. And my observation. So I was having a conversation with a cynical young man, my son. And we were, talking about disinformation and polarization, and he commented that because I was talking about how once upon a time, like 20 years ago, Tim Pearson and I said, oh my gosh, all this peer-to-peer communication possibilities through technology and citizen media, it's going to rising crowdsourcing of wisdom, and of course the opposite has happened, it seems. And he said, my son said, intelligent sources of information will always rise to the top. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And we really went around the loop, and finally he said, for you, because I was a discerning person looking for it. He's like, you'll find it. It'll rise to the top for you. I'm like, oh, well, that's not enough. I'm like, what about society? He's like, oh, society's screwed. So that really struck me that, and he's a busy, working young dad, and he doesn't have time perhaps to invest in this stuff. But I sat there and I told him about y'all and about the Braver Angels initiative I'm aware of. And I said, I have to keep my head up and stay connected to people who are providing a positive path into the future. And so my takeaway from that as we head into the retreat is really increasing, the new narrative is emerging, like you said, Kai, in terms of the behaviors and the cultures. How do we really get the harmonic rhythm so that it transfers wider and wider and the network is more and more inclusive? Because I can't handle the, oh, we're all screwed answer. And that just isn't okay. So that's what I noticed. Thank you.
Cool. I put a note in here about staying connected to the people on the positive path to the future.
That's a perfect way of summarizing.
What a wonderful comment. Thank you. Rebecca, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm not sure that I have too many things to update other than a lot of new things that are happening at the museum have spurred a lot of thinking, if you will. We just opened up a counter cartographies exhibition that's really like examining how we live on the land, but how we understand our lives through maps, or what does that even mean, and in a way that we're kind of mapping something unknown. Had a meeting with the co-director of the UNESCO initiative of futures literacy, which is exactly what you're doing right now. Is just that we as humans are uniquely capable of imagination, and so we are imagining a future. And so this futures literacy we're going to host a workshop probably slated for December. And I think that if any of you all, or you should put it on your radar, because it's actually exactly what you all are interested in, but we're primed to do, or we're priming ourselves to do, because honestly, yeah, without being able to envision a future that you want, you have no way to map it, that kind of thing. Very excited about getting rolling with Seed Lab work. To be honest, if any of you have ideas that you would like to see happen, I am all ears, but I'm really amped up about refreshing a partnership with REAP and start getting some like energy literacy workshops on the calendar. I'm really excited about I know the internet pulls back the veil. You can find out anything, but we as creatures are still, excited about human contact, just like you're talking about, Kitty. And sometimes that information dissemination just feels a lot more truthful, when it's in person, it's hands-on, all these things. So I'm just really excited about being able to apply that just to small scale, in person, on 6th Street, Anchorage, Alaska, so anyway, not really a lot to update, but I do want to extend a hypothetical future invitation that I'll let you know when we plan a futures literacy workshop.
Thanks, Rebecca. And just a quick comment here. One is I want to circle back on the Seed Lab opportunity. We are running a calendar now that's being reposted, a Google Calendar. So when that event comes up, if you can share that, I'd like to get that on the agenda. I was kind of surprised I missed the design forum that was going on recently. Just never hit any of my radars. I have a pretty good sweep going on of that, but for somebody who doesn't have a lot to share, you shared a lot of really interesting projects. Thanks for that. That's exciting. Elijah, good morning.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Yeah, things are going good here. Just still doing some building, just fighting a little bit, but I got the hard stuff done before the snow. So yeah, just moving forward with that. Went skiing for the first time in April Bowl, and it was awesome. Yeah, excited for some winter activities too coming up. Just wanted to say good job, Kai. Yeah, it sounds like you're really networking and pushing together your network and making some good headway and for the state. So good job. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Elijah. Laura, good to see you. What's new in your world? I was so thrilled when I saw one of your recordings. You just kind of blew up a week or two ago in terms of how things were going. I'm looking forward to
I wish I knew what I said.
it's out there. I actually shared it with a group. I said, if you do nothing else, you have to listen to Laura's introduction. You were friggin' on fire with what was going on. I think actually what it was the fractional CFO.
Oh, that is very
this
exciting.
huge aha that you had, but you were so positive about where things were starting to go with Pandera, with the new reduction in your customer acquisition costs in that, the growth there, and then this fractional CFO idea. I was super thrilled for you. But at any rate, I'm hogging your time. What's new in your world?
Well, I have two things on my mind today, just to toss out there. I was kind of looking forward to this group so I could just throw them on the table. The thing that I've been thinking about a lot this week is, it came to my attention because of a conversation I had last week. I have a really close friend of mine who's a parole officer, and he just happened to mention one of his, sometimes he tells us what's going on. And this particular individual I don't remember where they are in the parole process, but anyway, he's trying to get a car detailing business going. And to make a long story short, it really just, it just launched a whole entire thought process for me. And so on the one hand, I know that we used to have a reentry program. I think that's gone. I'm not really sure. Wonder what's going on with that. Had a friend that used to run that program. Probably should check in with him. But the question I have is, what are we do? I think entrepreneurship represents a very interesting path for people exiting prison. And it's probably underexplored in Alaska. I don't know if there's any support systems there. I kind of think there's probably some superficial supports, maybe lip service to it. Maybe there's, maybe this is something that, anyway, I'm just really interested in it. Yes, same for transition age youth. Yes, absolutely. So I have a lot of thoughts around that. I don't really want to pick up the mantle right now, but I certainly want to throw it into the conversation about whether this is something that we should be adding into our AKV3 kind of thinking. So that's one thing. The second part of that is I'm actually trying to figure out where to point him right now. And I'd be really interested in hearing from you guys what you think would be good places for me to point him toward. I think he might be a really good candidate for startup weekend. So I'm definitely going to tell him about that. I also thought, well, maybe he should be part of that pre-startup ideation stuff. And then beyond that, I just would be really interested in hearing from you guys what are programs you think would be relevant for a person who's not long out of prison, who has a business idea and already has some support, because I know that the parole system has already purchased for him. They've already gotten him grants and a few things like that. So that's and then the third thing I just want to throw out there, and I could maybe do this offline, but I just found out that the open house calendar that I picked for my open house, which I have no idea if anybody will show up. Apparently it conflicts with the Pitch Fest. And I thought maybe I should change it. So maybe I'd like to hear if you think I should change that. And that's all I got. Otherwise, everything's going really great for us right now.
Thanks, Laura. The calendaring thing, I'll put on the agenda here. We may have to pick that up separately, though. That's kind of a scheduling issue. But I would like to share with folks what's going on with Pitch Fest, and that maybe will come up. Thanks. Sorry, just catching up with myself. Mita, good morning. Hello, Mita, are you there? Oh,
I'm
there she
here.
is.
I'm here. I just had to get to my phone and get through the layers and unmute.
Good
So
good to see you this morning. I'm still kind of processing our discussion yesterday. There's so much going on.
the layers. Oh my gosh. So I have, I don't know, just kind of a lot of things going on as usual. And I'm looking forward to kind of these next steps on some urban farming, but I have to have some kind of secured actions from our partners happen before I can report out on that, because I don't want people getting too excited about it. And from there, I don't know, it's snowing and it's winter, and so just kind of a transition. One of the things is we have a moms group who is going to sit down with Murkowski and talk about investment in infrastructure through the Build Back Better and investing in Alaska in the future. So if we have any of the moms on this team who want to join me with that, please message me. And you can be part of that conversation. And I'm recruiting about 3 moms to be part of that conversation. And then Rebecca with the Seed Lab. Hi, I need to respond to your email, and we need to schedule for 3 different projects over this next year. So I'll do that. But otherwise, happy Friday, everybody. And it's good to see your smiling faces.
Thanks, Mita. Morning, Pascal. Good to, I think, see you. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm here in the middle of a couple of things going on. So I will be basically today more listening than actually talking, but piggybacking on what Katie said about today's what's going on with information. And actually that's something that came up this week. I was talking with some other folks about how easy it is nowadays to do things so easy that we sometimes don't realize. We're talking especially about like trading in the market, stock market. 30-40 years ago, to put an order, it was like 10-15 minutes, so you're lucky between phone calls to make something happen. Nowadays is maybe 15 milliseconds that take you to click and you are trading and not. And so I think we are blessed to have so many options available nowadays. And sometimes the problem that we have right now is what to do, what not to do, more than actually liking the tools for doing that. And I know that sometimes I'm a little bit over optimistic about what we can achieve, because there's so much potential with everything we have. I mean, look at that right now. We are having a Zoom meeting when we are not even in the same room. That 15 years ago would have not been, unless it was by phone, but it's different. So super excited for everything that is coming. And I will say that from my point of view, the biggest issue that we have nowadays is not we cannot do things, is probably choosing the right things to do and knowing what to say no to other things. And that will be basically, so when we talk about the future of Alaska, this week was like a boom, wake up moment. It's not like we don't have an option. Maybe we have now too many options that we need to choose which one we go and just move on and be okay saying no to other options that we have on the table. Not because they are not good, just because probably they are not the best ones. But anyway, super excited, way too excited. I'm gonna say that. Oh yes, I will be there on the next weekend on the retirement. Yeah, we have a word in Spanish that it looks like that, but it means completely a whole different thing in English. So yeah, I will be there. Also super excited to have that meeting in person. I agree with some of the comments that we've heard, that there's something magic that happens when people gather together that is just sometimes hard to reproduce, if possible to reproduce, when we are not together. So super excited to see the outcome of that meeting.
Super, thanks, Pascal. I think that's a good tee up to the discussion coming up here in a minute about the retreat. And you're right, I enjoy the strategic doing framework of what could we do, what should we do, and then what will we do, that is kind of run through the crucible of what's the right thing to do and what's the right thing to not do. And it's a terrible challenge sometimes for people like me with a garbage pail brain. Bradley, you want to bring it home? What's happening with you?
Hey, good morning, all. Not too much to report this week. I did have that meeting I talked about last week with the Purpose Foundation. Learned some fascinating things, including the limitations of putting a nonprofit in charge of a corporation, that nonprofits are actually the other side of the C Corp coin. It's still the same coin, and some of the same fiduciary duties are legally there as well. So fascinating to discover. And looking forward to sitting down in a couple hours with my attorneys at ORIC in Seattle to figure out trust structures. Trusts are not under the same sort of limitations as both 501c3s and C Corps for how they can manage their bylaws and structure. So navigating that, and I'll probably have some more concrete things to say next week. Also really excited to have found a manufacturer of the grapple, which we're going to be using in villages, hopefully on the Kuskokwim after breakup, to be removing trash aerially. So really happy to have found those partners and hopefully closing on that deal later this week. Yeah, that's all I've got. Thanks, Kai.
Sounds exciting. I just have to tell you, I immediately went to the idea of the little grapples that are in the little vending machines at the supermarket. Thinking about coming down and trying to grab trash on that. That's an exciting opportunity.
Yeah, we're focused on ferrous metals, so magnetics is the way we're going.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a cool. Any chance that was an Alaska manufacturer for the grapple?
Sadly not. Not yet anyway. I want to keep manufacturing as much manufacturing here as possible, but I've not been able to find anyone up here with the capacity to bite yet. So
Fair enough.
Yeah, keeping my ear to the ground on that.
Yeah, well, let me know anytime you're looking for folks. I still spend a lot of time watching for who's doing what, who's got what kind of equipment, their capability on that, but it is skinny for sure. And looks like there's a note in there from Laura to you asking about where you found the manufacturer. Just curious if there's anything you want to share in response to her.
Yeah, I don't want to share the name until they're finalized, but they are based in the Atlanta area in Georgia. So they have experience doing this kind of thing. They're super excited about the project. And given that, we're very early stage and we're bootstrapped, have come way down on the price impressively. So to kind of make that happen. So
If that doesn't work out, let me know. Wiley Rogers with Perfect Post. I don't know if you remember him from a few years ago doing the ice skating and the hockey posts. He found a really cool turnkey company for doing light manufacturing work out of, I think, Wisconsin or Michigan. I was super impressed with them. I wish we could do that here, but nonetheless, he found somebody that would work well. So follow up if things don't work out where you're going right now.
will do. And Samson Shepard with Arctic Services is one of our advisors. So he's, in on the calls and also looking for ways to keep stuff here.
Excellent.
Thanks,
That's good to hear. Okay. Let's see. Let's run through a couple just updates on past action items. I've been trying to keep this up a little higher in the agenda so that we have some follow-up to things that have been going on in the past. The Alaska Teen Media Institute, Rosie did get a hold of me finally middle of this week to talk about doing some video work for us. It's a little late in the game now, probably to do anything for startup week. I'll keep chatting with her, but at any rate, she is trying to see if she's got a couple students, youth that may want to come to the retreat for a little bit of time to be able to grab a little bit of video while we're out there, and a little bit of B-roll that we might be able to use down the road. So that's poking along. Ryan, anything you want to share as far as an update on the art project and the proposal there? Anything new? If not, that's fine. Just checking in on it.
Yeah, nothing new at this point. I mean, I have a real rough Google document that I have sketched out, but I don't even think that it's ready at this point to share with folks. I guess I would be interested in knowing if anyone would like to get engaged with that, or when I do have something ready, who I should send that thing to. But otherwise, I think that's just kind of chugging along. Yeah, so no news really.
Okay, that's fine for now. Let's see. I had Kitty on here at the retreat. We'll come back to that in just a second because that's the next thing up on the agenda. Pasquale, anything new on website activities you want to ask about or share about?
Yeah, the calendar is up and running on the website. The aesthetics are not the best that we can do, but it's functional. So again, making things happen, then making things pretty. So the idea is that hopefully we'll be able to serve as a main point or hub for everything that can relate to our AKV3 mission and vision, and it includes also startup weekends and everything startup related to business related. So the calendar is there. I'll post the link in just a couple of minutes, and yeah, we'll be using that. If you have any updates about an event that you would like to see posted, or you would like to ask AKV3 to publicize, just send me an email or send Kai an email, and we'll be adding that to the website. And that's what I have for today.
Well, I look forward to the link. And just so that folks know, the calendar for AKV3 is one that I'm now keeping synchronized with the weekly Startup Digest. So all the events that go out in the digest are on the calendar. It's a Google Calendar, which means you can link it to your own calendar, so you can always see the events showing right up there. And I'm also rendering it back out to my own startup resources web page there, and encouraging others to use it as kind of our community calendar for the time being, in lieu of anything else. And Pasquale is working on trying to continue to build that out so that we can use that as a place to share stuff related to the next Alaska. So thanks, Pasquale, for the work you're doing on that.
Can I just make a really quick comment on calendars? Calendars is an area that I get frequently confused and befuddled on. And so I think one of the things we lack a little bit is, I think there's a lot of power in sharing calendars and doing different things, but I just always run into problems with it. And so my default is just don't do it. So I'm just throwing that on the table, as we might need to have like a separate conversation, or maybe write something up that addresses some of these kind of issues that I run into. So that's it.
Okay, well, I'm going to put that down on the action items for the future to come back to, because I do think that's super important in terms of the connecting we can do and the value we can create, and getting the right people to see some of these wonderful opportunities that are going on. And Ryan or Pasquale, when you put the link in the chat, could you put the link that goes directly to the calendar? Because I'm actually on the website and I can't remember where the calendar is at on the website. Let's see, let's jump in now to main items for today, which is kicking off with the retreat planning. Kitty.
Okay, I'm going to do a screen share here. Let me get sure I'm in the right place on my screen. Close that. I wasn't in the right place. So I want to underscore the value, the importance of what Kai sent out just a minute ago in a email, and that is that everyone's input to this is really valuable, regardless of if you're able to make it live or virtually, because we do want this this sense of collective inputs that we can use as fodder to get us going. I mean, I think we've got a lot of resonance within this group. I really am impressed with that. And okay, I think I'm almost ready to share. You know me, I was making one more last minute change to the slides. So here we go. So the core question we're working on is what next Alaska? And really thinking of it at a whole systems level. There's 3 levels of work, and we're touching on all 3. And these are the 3 questions in the survey that we really would like your input on. Starting from the right, going backwards to the left, sort of what is the system, the whole system that we're seeking to influence towards what kind of outcomes? And here's a few words that it looks like that I may have typoed on. But anyway, so the system as a whole that we're trying to influence, we'll put some shape, I think, to that. But the middle box here is probably the one most ready for our navel gazing, as Kai described it. And that's this network, the community practice. To Pasquale's point, like, what are we actively going to choose to put our energies into, and how will we collaborate in that? Meaning we might say no to other things. So what is the nature and way of us continuing this loose affiliation of future oriented people? But to make that sustainable and valuable, it also needs to be valuable to us individually. So where is it that each of us are seeking that personal value and developmental reciprocal relationship with this network and with the system work? So those are the 3 levels. Make sense? Yay. Okay. So by the way, I don't yet have much of a design for exactly how we use our time, but I'm working on that after today's conversation. And I don't have there is no quote facilitator. I'm kind of going to hold the space, and I think that actually there's a lot of mutual abilities here, but we're not going to have somebody sort of sitting there really managing us. It's going to be a lot more emergent than that. Okay. So it's over Friday to Sunday. This kind of reiterates what I was just saying. 3 levels of work, and we need your input there. Is the link to the survey. Maybe Kai, you can throw it in the chat as well, just so it's handy for the folks here. General game plan. I've got this cabin, the address 335 Echo Ridge Road, not lodge. There's an Airbnb next door that I currently have rented, and I'm happy to cover the cost of that, but I'd hate to pay for it if nobody's coming, and I have to cancel it. I can get most of my money back if I cancel like today or tomorrow, but rapidly running out of time. I already canceled one of the Airbnbs. There were 2, but given the numbers, I didn't think we needed all 3 units, mine plus the 2 others. So you can start to use the chat box now. Please, each of you, tell me, are you coming? Do you need lodging? Which nights? That is really important just for me financially, and managing the numbers and so on. We're going to start Friday evening with a social. I'm hoping to have a fire pit, and we'll just build connections and intentions. We will hopefully have a way of patching the zoomed in people, the virtual people, into some of that. The main day is Saturday. We're going to probably go 9:30 to 4:30. And that'll be our developing focus. That'll be taking it deeper and trying to crystallize. The morning, of course, will be more exploratory, divergent, looking at possibilities. In the afternoon, we'll be converging back on which ones resonate with us to take forward. And then Saturday night and Sunday, we'll be relaxing, reflecting, maybe hiking. Gosh, I don't know, maybe even skiing. You kind of impressed me with that, Elijah. So that's the general game plan. And you don't have to stay both nights. You don't have to stay either night. The Zoom connections will be twice, once Saturday, well, probably 3 times. Hopefully Friday, we will be more social and outdoors, so it won't be as easy to kind of do that. But 2 more dialed in 60 to 90-minute Zoom sessions in the mid-morning and the mid-afternoon Saturday. By the way, all of this that I'm sharing is offered in the sense of a proposal from which I'd love to get, what works for you, what concerns you, what changes do you have? So this is not cast in concrete. It's just giving us a starting place for talking about our time together. We figured, since we're not always on Zoom in a sort of serial manner, we might, I don't know if it's serial or parallel, but we might need a way for those who aren't connected at real time to still interact, if you will. And so we want to identify, I'd love a recommendation, and we definitely need like a volunteer and offer for somebody to kind of help channel information from the multiple sources into a shared platform where that can enrich our interactions with people who aren't in Girdwood. So throw those comments into chat for a minute and we'll talk about those. We want to creatively capture the directions that are emerging. I'm meeting with Stacy Weitzer. She's a fantastic graphic facilitator. And if you guys can get information into that survey quickly, she can help crystallize something that we can start with on Friday based on all of our contributions. She also said she can't be there and she's very bummed about that, but she's out of state, but she can also do something with our results. And then Kai, you mentioned Alaska Teen Media might be joining us. You want to say a quick moment there?
They may just be out there, get a little bit of B-roll so that we can use that to update and build out a AKV3 video down the road. But
yeah, some B footage, but also maybe some interviews. So as people,
right, I forgot about that piece. No, that's an excellent idea.
Yeah. So we do want to allow art and the environment to energize our gathering and the energy that we bring. So, looking to those of you with all of those gifts to chime in on what will really make this bring our full selves to it. And bottom line is we do want to be COVID safe. So there were a whole lot of threads and comments about that. And there are several questions in the survey, but I think in the exchanges that I've seen, really, bottom line is we do assume that if you're coming, you're fully vaccinated, and we're going to be very mindful and respectful of distance and masking. The weather's not summer, so we're going to be more indoors than out, although there are 2 levels of fire pits that we can use. So that's our plan. If you aren't fully vaccinated, we prefer that you join through technology. I'll get to the end of the proposal here. Well, that's it. So I'd love your, what about this works? What about this needs clarification because it's pretty rushed? What needs, what do you have concerns about, or maybe some proposed changes? And while I'm doing that, while we're commenting and discussing that, all of you please use chat. And I haven't looked at it yet, so I see that answers are starting to accumulate, but we do need to know who's coming live and virtually, lodging. I'll work on the parking situation once I understand who's coming. There's room for about 5 cars, but not more than that. And then Kai made a good suggestion for meals, is that we just sort of sign up for some contribution. Everybody picks something. And added to the list there, I'd even take firewood as a contribution because I have wood down there, but it's more like old deck parts. So if we want really nice fire, we need really good firewood. So anyway, pausing my noise making and turning it over to you. What about this is workable? Is it going to give us the space and the context for the work we want to do?
Kitty, one of the thoughts that's coming to my mind, and I don't know if it's fits specifically into the second or third level of that, but to me, it would be helpful to be on the same page in terms of kind of what's the real goal or outcome of the meeting.
Yeah.
In terms of what we want to land on at the end. You know, I see the 3 layers that you've laid out as, you know, really fruitful discussions that connect up to creating value for the organization, for our work, and for us individually. And as a volunteer organization, if people aren't getting value personally out of their engagement, then they'll go and need to go someplace where they are getting value. So I think those 3 levels are essential. On the other hand, the engineer, you know, left brain part of me wants to kind of have a bottom line. What are we trying to get out of this day that makes it a choice for our time? You know, from my standpoint, I know a key issue is I'm really looking for for guidance and for us to collectively figure out what we do next. I think we're at a fork in the road with the organization. It's been a good 10-month ride, what we've done. I've enjoyed the conversations. I think, though, that we've kind of, you know, created an understanding of the potential for what we could do. I don't think the way we're doing it right now will scale in terms of the impact we want to have. And I think that fork in the road is, do we just keep being a good, interesting Friday discussion and we do some projects every month or 2 that kind of move it along? Do we potentially merge with another organization that has a complementary mission and more organizational capacity? Do we stand up a bigger organization and go off and try and find more of our own funding and become a real thing? I think we need to, in my mind, I really want some clarity on kind of we're at a fork in the road. I want to take the fork, as Yogi Berra would say, when you get to the fork in the road, take it. But I need help and direction on how we approach that. And maybe we don't answer the question per se, but I'd like to have some clarity that there is a fork in the road and that we need to venture off in one or more directions.
Yeah, thanks, Kai. So sort of what next for AKV3, for what next? And it is a bit of strategic doing because it's not quite the far-flung supervisioning stuff. It's over the course of the next 6 to 12 months, what tangible practices, or at least this is why I'm thinking it's the middle piece. Like, how are we working together and on what? It's, in old-fashioned language, strategic planning that focuses our efforts, leads towards the system change, and is valuable to us individually. So I'm looking at some of the chat. So Bradley, the question about COVID policies. I mean, what does the group want? I think it became clear that we do believe if you're showing up, you're vaccinated. I personally don't need to see anybody's card. I trust that people here are being, you know, transparent with where they are. So, and I don't know if we need tests. So I was putting forward an initial proposal that we get an acknowledgement that if you're not vaccinated, we need you to join via Zoom instead of in person. And then we be very mindful and keep our distances within the space. How we do that differs if I can get a sense of the people, the numbers. So has anybody been keeping track of numbers yet, besides me trying to? Bradley, how well does that fill in the gaps on the clarity you need?
2 of the issues, what about continuous indoor masking, as Anchorage just adopted last night with its veto? Is that a requirement for those that are coming, or is that kind of up to people's own comfort levels, I guess?
I mean, I would suggest that it's a requirement. We've been doing that at Alaska Seeds of Change for the past year plus. And it's just a little bit of a courtesy and an extra layer of protection for folks. You know, having a mask on in the space just cuts transmission.
I don't know anything about the space. Could you tell us if it's a small space or for spread out? Or,
Yeah. Good point. And I agree, especially with the recent municipal mandate, that does make sense that we just stay masked indoors. The space.
Well, I'm gonna offer a different alternative. But
okay. Okay, the space is, the common space is not huge, but there is a lot of space. So breakouts are particularly spaced. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different spaces where we could break out. That's not perfect because
Is
what
it
we
a
do-
house?
It's a house, yeah. I have a 3-story house
Gotcha.
with a separate cabin bedroom. It's got an upper bedroom, the main, which even has a little breakout space. I've got the main level has a kitchen, dining room, living area. It's just not a huge open space. The huge open space is my deck. So if we bundle up and sit around the little propane stove, you know, we can all be outside on the deck quite comfortably together if it's not snowing and raining. So that's kind of one of my fallbacks. The downstairs is a larger TV room and another bedroom. Next door is a 2-bedroom Airbnb. Its main room is not much bigger than the one I've got, and it doesn't have as big of a deck. So what I'm kind of missing is the big great room. I've got the big great deck. Does that help?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna weigh in. I don't really care what ends up happening. If we all are masked, that's fine. Here's my position on it though, is like maybe when we're all together in a big room, that makes a lot of sense to mask. If we feel like we can pull it off outside on the deck for, you know, a session, I think that would also be fun. And then the third thing is just, I personally don't care about being masked around vaccinated people. If it's a small group, like 2 or 3, especially, you know, having a window just slightly cracked can make a massive difference. But the bottom line is, you know, vaccinated people just don't transmit at the same level. And I would just throw it out there that, you know, there are some downsides to masking, which is hearing and inclusion and stuff like that. So I'm not an anti-masker at all. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's nice to not mask in the places where you don't need to. And I'm a little bit questioning if we need to in all the places here, but
Yeah.
I'm happy with whatever anybody decides.
Thanks, Laura. I'm going to add, when we're all in the plenary group sessions, we're probably going to be closer than 6 feet apart if there's like even 6 or 8 of us. So that might make it more necessary. I'm looking at your note, number 3, I am fine without masks around vaccinated people, I think is what you meant, because it says unvaccinated. But you make a good point. We're also trying to do technology, and imagine Zooming with masks, right? You know, and when we are doing technology and Zoom, we're likely to be in the TV room where it's got the bigger screen. So it may be some of our Zoom won't include visual. It'll include, you know, passing around a microphone so that everybody can hear and having audio really work for us. So in advance, I really appreciate and apologize to everybody for what's likely to be a little bit of extra lift to keep the technology working adequately for everyone. But yeah, I think that we even if there's only 6 or 8 of us, we all get in the TV room, you can't get 6 feet apart.
Yeah, I think it makes all the sense in the world to keep a mask on then.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're talking into a mic, you might lift up your mask just so the Zoom people can hear you better.
Right.
But again, I'm fine with whatever anybody decides.
Right.
I just
So
asked, did we get the results of the survey that went out? Is there any way to see the data that
I
came in
looked
on
at it,
this?
and at the time there were only 4 of us that responded, Bradley. So that hence the plea for inputs of all kinds. But if you are planning to come live, we really do want to see what your thoughts are on that structure. And let me offer another proposal, which is when we get there live, we will check in with the humans present, and we will do what makes everyone comfortable. can we get a commitment to that? So, and no shaming, no blaming. If somebody says, honestly, I live with my 90-year-old grandmother, or I've got unvaccinated kids, I just really need the safety. We honor and we work with whatever needs to be done to make everyone who can commit the time to be there. I mean, we really want you there. So we don't want this to be a barrier. How does that sound?
I think your whole line of thinking is excellent, Kitty. And I think you've got it covered, you know, and we can refine it on the day of as needed.
Yeah. And here's another thing. If we find that really we just don't have the comfort levels, what we do have is a lot of spread out space. So people bring your technologies and we can sit in different rooms and Zoom like this, but we can still, for those who want to and are willing to, commingle for, you know, so we can, so that's an option. There is more spread out space than there is communal space. Speaking of technology, I don't have Wi-Fi out there. I use a hotspot. So any of you, and my AT&T line gets real great coverage. So please know that you can't just log into a Wi-Fi while there. We can use the hotspot, but it's not going to last forever. So if others have a hotspot or something like that, all technology contributions welcomed. And we'll wing it. I think I've seen some responses on chat in terms of ideas for meals, which sound good. What I'll do between now and then is tighten this up into more of a design document, integrating the suggestions. And we have next Friday morning, technically, and I can do a firm agenda where within the time slots, like the Zoom slots especially, we know what are we doing within that Zoom, with our time, what are the questions, what platforms do we have? Is there anything, I do need to ask, is there anything throughout all of this that you've heard that truly, you know, that you've seen as a suggestion or that I've mentioned that you think that just isn't going to work? So let me know either today in chat or offline. If you know, dissent is really important and we need to create room for dissent. And I don't want to just railroad an agenda because I didn't hear dissent. I want to make sure that if you have concerns, we hear them, because our key priority is that you feel welcomed and can contribute. This is nothing without us, without you. So I feel good enough on that. And Kai, turn it back over to the group to go on with other agenda topics, because there's some meaty stuff.
Cool. Thanks, Kitty.
One quick last thing that would help, Kitty, is if you could mark, you know, schedule items for which things are Zoom and which things are going to be outdoor. Like, is breakfast Sunday going to be on the deck or would it be inside?
Right.
Things like that would affect my ability to participate.
Yeah. I'd like to say meals will primarily be like maybe buffet, get it inside, but eat outside. It's a little weather dependent, right? So I will put together, I'll have time this weekend while I'm driving or passengering to Homer. So I will put together a more detailed design document. Did anybody put a suggestion in here for platform ideas? Maybe we do simple and just call it a Google Doc. What do you think? I see Kai half nodding.
Yep. No, I think a combination of Google, Miro kind of stuff is pretty straightforward with. I think maybe primarily a Google Doc that folks can work in, we can use for kind of keeping notes and links so that people have kind of one guide document to go to and to add stuff to, and then we can from there build out other documents for specific.
Do we want to put it within the running agenda doc or create a standalone retreat doc, similar kind of fill in the blank style? How about separate for now?
Yeah, I guess, you know, my initial thought is to let the agenda be the guide document, and we'll just use that for all the navigating to other documents and resources that we use along the way. So as long as everybody can keep track of the agenda document, they'll be able to keep track of the most up-to-date guide to what's being done.
Okay.
I think, you know, for me, the only concern that I have isn't really with anything that you've proposed itself, Kitty, but just with our ability to get critical mass as we talk through these important things. You know, I just want to kind of get a temperature check. Like, do we feel like we're going to have enough engagement for us to make a decision that the group will be bought into? And along those lines, if there is something that is being proposed, if there is something that would make it a deal breaker for you to not be able to be there or to not want to participate, I would just like to encourage people to advocate. Because frankly, for myself, I'm willing to bend over backwards to accommodate people so that you feel comfortable to be there. But I don't know what accommodations need to be made unless they're voiced. And so I would just like to make an explicit ask for people to be explicit about the accommodations that they would like to see so that they could be.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ryan. I mean, literally participation is more important to me than any accommodation. So, so the bar will be as high as it needs to be to make anybody comfortable. I have this thought as well. So in the sense that everything is sort of evolutionary, we will come away Saturday, Sunday with some concepts, and we have this weekly way of checking back in and ways of distributing it. So again, what emerges will be in the form of a proposal, not you weren't there, you didn't get a voice, So I think we have to also realize that simply the window of time might not be ideal for people. So. So is there anybody here who would be unwilling to wear a mask for the entire indoor time? This is important. Like, if we say all masks all the time indoors, are you comfortable? I can only see 6 of you.
Yeah, I'm good. It might be chilly eating outside, but I can speed that process up.
Yeah. Oh, the other option is go to one of the 5 breakout rooms to take your food to eat. Yeah. So, like I said, there's plenty of move around space. It's just not as much communal space. So, all right. So I think I heard everybody, I didn't hear anybody say no. So we will wear masks to make it welcoming and available to the maximum number of hearts and souls who can join us.
Do you have a deck heater?
I have a propane fireplace, little fire. And I've been thinking about one of those porch heaters, if anyone wants to loan one or bring one, but I don't own one right now.
I've got one. Maybe I'll bring it out. So.
You're a hero. Yeah.
Well, I'm not a hero yet. I'm just offering, and that's cheap and easy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, if we had 2 or 3 of those, we'd be on the deck. I mean,
I have 2 at my house, but I don't have the ability to transport them. So
I have a truck.
If somebody wants to volunteer for the transport.
Yeah, Laura, let's talk, because I've got a truck I can get it out there with. We could affix some tarps to keep drizzle off of us.
Oh, you mean over the heaters?
No, I mean around, just over some of the deck. So we could, not over the heaters, that's not safe, but, or umbrellas. I don't know, let's talk. I'm going to put down here.
I think that my experience is the heaters are okay if it's minimal snow or rain. It's
okay,
kind of fine.
Yeah. And who was it who said
on a hat?
I think it was Elijah who said there's or someone when we were in the rain at the park 2 months ago. It's like there's no such thing as bad weather, it's bad gear. So just okay. So we may be outside.
Well, okay. So
heaters can really make it nice outside though, if we want to be outside more. Heaters.
Yes. So I will do all I can to talk to you, Laura, and pick those up and get them down there.
Cool. Okay, we're up at 11 o'clock.
Sorry.
A couple things I was hoping to get to, but there's plenty of time for some of them to circle back. What I do want to touch on for a moment, though, is the Leadership Anchorage program. That's the LA 25 reference that was made before. Leadership Anchorage is an annual program that helps emerging leaders have a immersive experience with the Alaska Humanities Forum to develop their skills and their networks within the Anchorage area. They do projects each year, and the community gets to pitch some projects to the cohort teams, and Ryan was bringing forth an opportunity to do that. I know I'd been in contact with Alaska Humanities Forum. It sounds like, Ryan, you and I were both on the same wavelength of pitching some sort of Alaska version 3-ish kind of project. I don't have anything particularly fleshed out at this point, particularly given that we're going into this retreat, trying to figure out what is next. But I also thought that the idea of having the leadership cohort potentially involved in some sort of Anchorage program around Alaska version 3 and engaging people across the community in what that next Alaska might be seemed valuable to me. I don't know if you had any more specific thought, and it sounded like maybe they were pushing out the decision date on that from the email I saw. So maybe it's not urgent. Maybe it can be something that we can talk about at the retreat. I don't know if that's too far out.
I've definitely put the request to Cheryl at the forum to see. She told me it might be November 20th. And I'm waiting for a confirmation. So.
Okay, so we're
So
good. There's nothing urgent at the
I'm
moment.
the presenter on November 20th for the Leadership Anchorage, so I can talk with Cheryl about making sure we have time for the group to come in.
Okay, so Mita, what usually when they're pitching projects, they dedicate a couple of hours during the day, and it's kind of just like everybody pitches for 5 minutes. There's a little interaction, and then the group kind of self-organizes around which projects. So, but good on you for being a presenter there for the November 20th session. It's an amazing cohort this year. I mean, they're all amazing. I just got reconnected, so I'm super excited about them. There should be time at the retreat to chat about this and tie what they can help us with to what do we really want to do.
Yeah, I worked with them last year. They did a project that I led with them and been involved with them for a few years. So it's been a great experience for me. I've gotten a tremendous amount of value out of working with the group and would enjoy the opportunity to see them help with Alaska version 3. I think it's a valuable area, particularly with the existing relationship we have Alaska Humanities Forum with the writing contest we did last year. And if I had to throw something in the hat this weekend, which is what I thought we originally had to do, I was going to ask them to take on leading the next generation of our creative writing media contest this coming winter, and try and organize that and take it to a new level of engaging the community in the arts about the next Alaska. But I think we've got more time and don't need to rush into that particular proposal.
And I'm looking for the form. I had it once upon a time.
That's an email. Yeah, Ryan, go ahead.
I may have it in my inbox as well, and I can look at it. I guess, double checking on when that cutoff date is to get the form in. Hopefully it is November 20th that the pitch happens, because that'll give us some more time to refine it. And I think that we could propose that we would ask the Leadership Anchorage cohort to help us engage Alaskan in the next the next Alaska economy, or then Alaska version 3. This is not very wordsmith, and I try to polish this up a little bit, but essentially, like, how do we pull in more voices? How do we reach more people? How do we help to multiply this effort so that it's just a general conversation that's happening? And then along those lines, we could do the creative competition. We could have community conversations. Perhaps we could work with folks at the Seed Lab to hold some of those community conversations. But I think that could be an interesting way to try to raise issues up, to get more people engaged, and to get more people thinking about Alaska version 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the group today? Going once, going twice. Kitty, thank you for the work you're doing to organize the retreat. Thank you all for joining the discussion today.
Thanks. Hey, send me the chat if you could as soon as the recording's off.